What is up, guys? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys another Weiss Schwarz match. This is between me and the player that piloted Bunny Girl Senpai to second place in the London Regionals last regional season. Me and him are good friends. He actually was the one that sold me the Bang Dream deck. So this is our playtesting session right now. It's a mirror match. So right now I clock draw 2 and then swung in for 3 with the Notica runner. So this match was actually pretty interesting overall because we got to see some of the differences in our skill level when it came to playing and some similarities we had in terms of play style. So it was actually a pretty fun match. So he's playing the Notica runner and the Notica coin flip. So I decided to determine whether to run or to an open lane or run to the center. I decided to run to center so I could deny him the coin flip and put him in a awkward situation where he could blind mill. So I wanted to kind of minus him some resources. So this is where he sticks 2 and the 2 sticks, and then he debates on siding or fronting, so he suicides the Notica, since we're both even in power, for 1, and I just trade it. The reason why I was trading the runner out was because I had another one in hand and felt like it wasn't really necessary to try to push that hard. So I decided to just play a little bit more aggro, and I was kind of debating, do I want to do the aggro play or do I want to do a conservative play? So I decided to go aggro so I could force the cancel or force some damage to push him to level 1, and I managed to hit him to level 1 early. So like in this matchup, like when you go up against a mirror match for Albuda, you're not afraid going to level 1 later than your opponent, because if you field it right, you should be fine. Since you can retaliate back with the Kaede by doing your Kaede, and if you play your board right, you should be able to hit the lanes properly. So right now, I was debating on how I'm gonna approach this board. So I was checking his waiting room to see if he had any of the 3-2 Mai. So I was kind of debating on what kind of line of play I was gonna go for. So I mill run so I could deny the Kaede, the reverse, and I swung it. So I had him direct the lane. So first he decides to swing in with the 0-0 Mai. I normally would not have done that. I would have swung in Mai at the end stage, but since I'm thinking he figured out that he was going to trigger a climax, that it was okay to swing in, which is also fine. But my personal preference, I would have just took that trigger and salvaged something out of it. But that was fine for him. So he punches me to level 1. We're in the similar situation. So what I'm doing right now is trying to get the Kaede play out. So I was trying to search out my Kaede. So I was thinking, okay, what plan of action do I go for this? So I decided to board completely this way and decided to... Actually, I'm trying to figure out what I decided to side it climax into for the standby. So I gave the Kaede plus 500 with the Shoko Brainstormer. So then I decided to direct for 2 and then front for 1, giving the power to the Kaede so I can guarantee the reverse. And then I swing in and get the reverse. I also get to double salvage since they triggered the door. So I basically went for the level 0 Sakuta off of the door trigger, and then I decided to go for the Shoko backup so I could scare my opponent into a situation that he did not want to be in. So really, I was actually kind of not luckily in control, but I was in control of the game because of the first half of the game, because I was able to kind of deny him so much tempo in terms of board state, while I was able to build the sufficient board that I needed. So he's trying to like rearrange his clock so that way he knows what he has to do to level. So he decides to clock the door trigger and draw 2, I think. Oh, no, he was trying to fix his clock because his clock was in an awkward setup. But right now he's brainstorming. He's gonna try to do the rebut play back to me, the rebuttal, by going to the Kaide. So he's gonna go for the double pump, which is actually a really good play on his part, because not only does it allow him to kind of see his triggers, he kind of revealed the the standby trigger unintentionally. So this allowed me to kind of gain some information on what I need to do. The great part about that reveal of the standby was that he potentially is able to break my board, and then he had the potential of literally getting the free salvage off of this. It was actually really good for him, in my opinion, that he actually did pump the Koga, the Futaba, so he could put me in an awkward position, which he actually did, which actually helped him out in the long run. So he swings in for and I cancel. So I'm at 1-6 right now, so I'm trying to debate on what I'm gonna do for this turn. So I'm thinking I'm not gonna clock, so I just proceed to just full board the lane. So I decided to do the brainstorm to thin my deck out and pay out the climax that I triggered. So I get the Kaide, so I could just free fresh and maintain some steady compression. So in this scenario, I do a similar board, except I side the Koga, and so looking at my triggers, I knew that it was actually pretty safe. So then I swung in with the Koga 2/2, so I could just push for damage and force him to level up and trade level up. So in reality, it was actually kind of beneficial for me that I did the brainstorm. So then I swing in, give the Kaide +1 soul. I'm at +15, and then I just swing in for damage, pushing him to 2/4. So the game was actually pretty back and forth overall, because despite not me getting the same kind of number of quality cards on the board with the standby, I was able to kind of maintain a strong numbers overall, because of the fact that I was playing the Sakuta 00, which gives center slot of center stage +1500. So with the backup, I'm able to kind of contest his board. So he had no choice but to play the surrender board game, even if he did get the +1500, because it was very much a uncertainty if he was going to be able to run over my lane. So I was just kind of trying to figure out what would be my next plan of action. So that's why I'm looking at my waiting room, just trying to figure out what to do next. So he searches the 3/2 my. So he then proceeds to go on the. I think he was trying to debate on what lane would be the best to run over, because he still trade lanes with me. So he realized, he made the rationale to just swing in and see if he can push for damage instead of not worrying about trying to break my board. So he swings in and I go to 2/3, so I restand. So in this situation, I was actually in a very not awkward situation, but very very interesting. So I decided to brainstorm. So I brainstormed for 2. So I grab the My 00, and I also grabbed the early play Shoko. Wait, no, the Shoko search. So then what I do now is I was trying to decide what lanes I would keep the Koga in. So it was actually kind of hard, because I was trying to figure out what my board state's gonna be like at the end. So I decided, you know what, I was like, fuck it, let's just build resources. So I decided to search out the early play Shoko. I managed to give +15 to the center slot, and I decided to just stand by out the 2-1 Sakuta because I needed to get the my setup ready. So it still does the same effect in terms of power pumping. I could have played the Koga 3-2, but the problem was I needed to facilitate the my game, the my 3-2. So I decided I would just build compression here, and I triggered 2 of the standby. So I decided to I counted my standbys, and I decided to discard the Notica and then go for her effect, and then I paid 3 to encore the my reasoning behind that was if I could bait the cancel and eat out the remaining cards of my deck, I can pretty much recompress the deck in a way that can be advantageous. And the best part was, since I had the 3-2 my in hand, I could effectively just maintain the same kind of level of advantage and compression. So it was actually an interesting play that I did. It was an interesting gamble that I took, looking back at it. So I eat it and I go straight to level 3, which is fine for me in this scenario. So then he swings in for 2. I then proceed to be at level 3. So my opponent swings in for 2, hits 3, and I cancel off of that. So looking back at it, I realized it was not that bad, the trade-off, because like I was able to still maintain some pressure on the board. So I decided to just heal spam and just readjust myself into a better situation. So I swung in for 3, directed for 3, and I was debating on what to stand by in. So I decided in that scenario was to play over the Koga and just nullify my damage, because I knew that he was going to cancel off of the direct. So I just wanted to be able to stick damage onto my opponent. So realizing that, I decided to just swing in and get in that relevant damage of 2, because I wanted him to level up next turn. So push him in a situation where he would level up. So what happened was I ended up having him standby, and then so I ended up standbying the Koga. So it actually created a very tough situation for him, because I literally commanded the board at that point, because the Rio was effectively a 16 lane, so he couldn't answer it because he was afraid of the backup. So I just proceeded to just sit there and wall him out, since he had to deal with my center slot. So all he could do was just like heal down and try to maintain the tempo. And I noticed after he brainstormed that he was in a very awkward situation where it was actually favorable for me to plus off of this. It was actually very favorable for me to actually not just plus off of it, but potentially win the match. So what I did was, you'll see it, I actually made a very greedy play, and I regret playing that greedy play, because I could have healed down and potentially still win the game. But because I decided to be a little greedy, it backfired on my end. In my opinion, I could have just healed down and kind of just ate the damage that he would deliver back to me. But you can't help but be a little greedy in Weiss. So he then proceeds to swing in for 2. So this is where I got a little greedy. So I was debating on whether or not to burn him. So I decided to pay 1, discard 1, burn. So I burned him for 1 to get the cancel out. So that way I could prevent him from making the Futaba. So that was the correct play in there. The problem that I had was I decided to get a little greedy at the end of his last attack and burn him for 1. I could have just paid, instead of paying out that stock to just get a burn, I could have just passed started on my turn, pay 2'd, and healed down, and then just proceed to precision damage him for game. But instead, I decided to be way too greedy than I needed to be, and it ultimately costed me this match. Like, if looking back at it now, I would have done the play so differently, and really that's what costed me the match. Was I got a little greedy on my opponent against my opponent, and literally gave him a chance to come back on the backswing, which was very unfortunate. So I end up being out of climaxes because of my greedy play. I get punished for being a little bit greedy on that one. But overall, like, it was actually a pretty fun match. I enjoyed playing against another Bunny Girl Senpai player. It was actually quite enlightening to see how similar our choices were in terms of deck manipulate, play sequencing, and rationale. So I hope to play more matches with him in the future. He and I are going to be testing out the new Bunny Girl Senpai set, the Dreaming Girl set, to see what stuff synergizes with the old set, and figure out like what builds to be trying to put together for English. I haven't invested into the Dreaming Girls set because I already have the main set in English and JP, and I decided it's better for me to just buy singles off of JP if I decide to revisit my JP Bunny Girl Senpai deck, and then just buy an English play set when it comes out, or if it comes out, to be more accurate. So expect to see more stuff from me in the near future in regards to the set. Overall, this was a really fun matchup. I enjoyed playing against him. If you want to see the our decks in the I'll put the deck list in the description below if you want. Please sure to check out my channel for more content. We will be posting I'll be posting more match videos in the near future, as well as my deck profile. I promised you guys Risaya, so I'll probably post that up in the near future. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, crack that like button, and please check out 3-6 Cancel, and yours truly. Stay on point, guys. Peace out, YouTube.
語れない